Thank you very much for this invitation. I'm really honored and pleased to talk about the role of the media when it comes to gender equality. As it has been said that Kvinfo is the Danish Center for Information on Gender Equality and Diversity, and its primary goal is to inform the general public of the gender research and qualify the debate about equality in Denmark and internationally. We do that with a research library and digital platforms, equality tools, for example, an expert database with 1,100 profiles. And we also provide Danish women's history, where her story is a supplement to his story. And here I just want to put a quote from George Orwell's novel 1984 in your mind. He who controls the past controls the future. He who controls the present controls the past. So on our digital platforms, we also present 2 web magazines with current news, where we try not to take things in control, but open up the readers' minds when it comes to gender, equality, and diversity, telling her story, but also the story about men and masculinity with a feminist perspective. Kvinfo's web magazine is 30 years old, and it's for a Danish reading audience. It is funded by the Ministry of Culture. It has been online since 1998, and it has really been crucial because, a lot of people are going there and reading us without even knowing that they're reading a feminist magazine. We are focusing on research, culture, policy, and legislation and debate. We want to demonstrate with the magazine that feminism is an area of knowledge, and what we do is to providing journalist-pointed articles, all framed by a gender perspective on almost every topic. Funny enough, you get a totally different article than you all see in other traditional media. I just want to give you an example of what kind of consequence we also have when you put a gender perspective. The day my mother's funeral was, I left the funeral and then I sat in the car and I just want to put something else in my mind, and I opened up the radio. And the radio was really weird. There was a report from Utøya and Oslo. And as you might have guessed, it was the day Anders Breivik was making his attack on the democracy. I was really surprised the day after, as Maria Sveland told you yesterday, that the normal media didn't read this manifest with a gender perspective. And the days after, you could see that no one was mentioned that gender was really an important topic when it comes to this manifest. So when we went back from vacation on Kvinfo, we could see that this perspective was really needed. So we made an article about it. And just right after, there was a comment on a right-wing site for debate on various issues. And the comment on this right-wing website was, if Kvinfo compares people who are disagreeing with feminism with Anders Breivik. And the man continued, let's do a total Breivik on Kvinfo. So you can see that we have also felt, some of the things that Maria Sveland told us about yesterday. Up to the 8th of March, the magazine from the Danish Union of Journalists had a focus on women's representation in the media. And the most depressing was that not much has happened since 1982 in Denmark, where 82% of the sources were men back then. And then a new survey from 2014 showed nearly the same numbers. And the journalist magazine quoted a very famous title from a book with short stories from the Danish movement in the 70s. And it was a book called Shut Up and Stay Beautiful. And the author was back then in 1978, Vita Andersen. But we don't want to shut up and stay beautiful. Kvinfo was actually, just counting the numbers. At this moment, there's a gathering by politicians, journalists, and political organization at a folkemøde. It's on an island, Bornholm, a Danish island, where, Kvinfo was just counting the speakers there. And, it was so easy just to put on the glasses and count. And it was obvious that 2/3 of the speakers were men. And just by counting, we got the attention from the mainstream media. As we all know, there's also an age problem in the media. You can see that after the age of 35, the percentage of women in the media, especially in the television, are declining. And after the age of 50, on television you only see 23% women on the screen. These are the latest numbers from the latest survey of women on the screen in 1 week in Danish television. And then we always try to use our equality tools, for example, the expert database, as I mentioned in the beginning. Media are transmitters of culture and engines behind globalizing cultures. There's a clear intersection between women's empowerment and media development. If the media are to accomplish their democratic potential, then they should reflect diversity in society. Our experience helped when Kvinfo started to work in the Middle East and were publishing another web magazine funded by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, targeted to an audience interested in the region. The web magazine there is called Women Dialogue. Especially after the Arab Spring, where women have been at the forefront of the revolutionary process, but equally they have also often been sidelined when the political structures and constitutions needed to be settled. An opening becomes a backlash when new political positions are established. And that's precisely what we were seeing in many places in the Middle East. And again, we put on our gender glasses and try to tell other stories. And we have even copied the expert database around in the Middle East. So now we have a database called Who Is She? We have this in Jordan, Palestine, Egypt, and Lebanon. And there's a Who Is She expert database coming up in Tunis and Morocco. And just to sum up, if you put the gender glasses on, you have the power to shape public opinion and attitudes, determine the public discourse, and shape political, cultural, and economic priorities, influence public policy through reinforce or challenge gender and other stereotypes and norms, act as catalysts for social change through coverage of injustice. Representation of women and feminism means something for our democracy and for you and me. We are a part of the past, the present, and the future.